All right, so we are recording. I'm still going to give everybody a couple minutes because we're up to about 160 participants, which is great, and it's still climbing. So we'll let everybody get in. All right, I think we'll get started. So people can join in the next couple minutes, and that's fine. And then they can check out the recording later. So I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We have a presentation of information to provide to everyone that's high school specific. And I also want to just introduce the people that are with us tonight representing the high school. So I'm Megan Lafayette, in case any of you are new to the school or to the district and don't know. So I'm the building principal. We also have one of our assistant principals, Joanne Masterson, with us tonight. So there's Joanne. So she works primarily with, she's the 504 coordinator. She helps to coordinate tests, including MCAS and AP. And she also organizes a lot of the AP, professional development in the building. So she's the assistant principal of academics. And then our other assistant principal is our assistant principal of student services. So that's Mr. Thomas Forbes. And he's here as well.
Good evening.
Awesome. And so he helps with student services, student discipline, all of that stuff. As you come in the meeting, just please mute yourself. And then as I can go through the meeting, if I hear little noises, I'll mute everybody. Let's see, we also have with us our athletic director, Mr. Michael Connor.
Good evening.
Awesome. And also our director of fine arts, Ms. Marie Fort.
Hi, everyone.
Great. So with our powers combined, I think we'll be able to answer all of your questions. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we also have our assistant superintendent, Carolyn Rafferty, with us as well. So she's here to help out with any questions we may have that might be above us, or any insight that she can add to curriculum and instruction. So with that said, we are up to 186 participants. This is really kind of exciting to watch it go up. I'm going to share my screen at this point. And what we'll do is I got like 35 questions submitted over the weekend that we've gone through as a team and I've put on the presentation. If things come up, please put them in the chat. And I'm going to ask Joanne Masterson to sort of monitor the chat. She'll jump in and let me know when I should pause because questions are piling up, and we'll answer as many questions as we can and provide as much information as we can. So I'm just going to share my screen. Here we go. Give me a second. All right. So just at this point, you see the slideshow and you probably see my face. All right, good. We're going to go for it. All right, so we have our BHS Parent Forum tonight. We're excited that you can all join us. I wanted to start just by thanking you all for your patience and support throughout this process. So the administrators, the department chairs, and the parent volunteers and the teacher volunteers have been working all summer trying to take all of the DESE guidance and turn it into logistics in our building. So it's been a lot of work and a lot of information has come at us and we've looked at it to try to figure out how to make it work at the high school. And I think we've done a really good job. But I do thank you for your patience because I know that you've been wanting information for a while now, but we needed all the pieces to fall together before we could bring information to you. So thank you for your patience with that. The overview of tonight. So I have my overview, and then because there were so many specific questions about fine arts and the music program, Ms. Marie Fort is going to give her presentation about what band will look like in this setting, and then I have your questions. Please know that all of our decisions were made with safety as our #1 priority. So anytime we made a decision with the master schedule or with getting students into the building or how to do lunch, safety was always our #1 concern. Not for really for everybody. So for all the staff working in the building, for all the teachers working in the building, for all the students in the building. So we recognize that we have a real responsibility to our community to provide a safe place for students to learn, especially in the conditions that we are in now. I also wanted to mention that we don't have answers to everything. So we have lots of answers tonight, but we cannot answer every single question because there are still a lot of unknowns. I have a list of things that we're working on that we will get the answers to you as quickly as possible, but there are some things that we just don't know at this time. We also are going to need to adjust as we go. So we have plans in place, we have logistics. They work on paper, but when we get into the school building, that's when we're going to test things out and know that, yep, this plan worked, that was great, or this plan almost worked, we just have to change this one little thing. And that will happen because there'll be communication between families and the school, between school and the families, between teachers and administration. We're going to keep those lines of communication open because we know how vitally important that is. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I am answering emails as quickly as humanly possible. I know there's probably some people on this call right now who are waiting for answers from me, and I don't have any meetings scheduled tomorrow except for one, so I'm going to really dedicate some time to my emails. So I apologize for that. The last couple of days, teachers just started coming in, so I was trying to dedicate all of my hours to helping the people in front of me, but I will get back to those emails. So thank you again for your patience on that. All right, so some of the things that you'll see on these first couple slides are the same as the presentation we made to the community as a district, but I thought maybe there were some people who didn't make that presentation who are on this presentation. So very quickly, I just want to talk about all the things we've done for added safety measures. So we've added hand washing stations to the building. We've closed off the water fountains, but we do have 2 water fill stations. So students can and should bring water bottles from home that they can fill up at those water fill stations, but they should not be drinking from bubblers. The biggest change at the high school is that we've reduced our courses from 6 periods a day to 4 periods a day. So we are now working in a block schedule at the high school. And so that involves a lot of changes that our teachers are implementing in their curriculum these next 10 days to make sure that all of our content is covered in a block schedule. There are other schools in the area that do block schedules, so we've reached out to them, or I've reached out to those principals and asked for advice. And you probably know this, but many schools in Massachusetts and actually in the country have switched over to that block schedule. And the reason that that falls under a safety measure is that it minimizes the number of people that students interact with each day, and it minimizes the number of students that teachers interact with each day. So we're lessening those contacts. We've arranged our desks so that they're 6 feet apart. We have floor markings, so we're controlling the flow of traffic in the hallway. We're staggering our arrival and dismissal times. We're not using lockers at the high school. We're not using locker rooms. We have desks in the cafeteria now that are 6 feet apart and all facing the same direction. And we're modifying our PE activities so that there's no contact. And in the beginning, especially, they won't even be sharing PE equipment. I see that there are some questions popping up on the chat, even though I can't see the questions. Joanne, do you want to read any of them to me? Or do you know if they come up later in the presentation?
Some of them will come up
Okay.
Later in the presentation, and we are answering what we can
Okay.
As we go through.
Okay.
I think there are some that are due dates, like when will busing be, busing cohorts be announced, counseling nights, things like that. So if you want to go a little farther, and then I will see if they've been addressed, and if not, we'll go through them specifically.
Yep, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so important for you to know, beginning and the end of the day is changing. So bus drop off is at 7:20 to 7:30, and then we're going to ask our parents to drop off at 7:30 and our drivers to arrive at 7:30. This is essential. We are not opening the building until 7:20. So I know our past practice has been to open up the building and students come in and sit in the foyer and until the start of the school day, but we cannot do that this year. We can't have students mingling in the building before 7:20. So our doors will not open to students until 7:20. For our departure, our buses are going to come at 1:50, and we're going to stagger our dismissal of kiddos to the buses. And then at 2 o'clock, that's when we will release the students who have parent pickup or the students who are driving. So again, that's to minimize the number of students in the hallway at any given time. So that's why we're staggering that. And that's one of those things we're going to examine it the first week of school and see what the hallways look like. But we won't know what the hallways look like until we try this and we stand in the hallway and we look and we see what the number of students in the hallway at a time. All right, so this is talking this slide specifically about expectations for students and students and teachers and learning in this new year. So many of you in the fall remember that we followed the guidelines that DESE provided to us. So they said minimize the amount of work, focus on power standards, only give half the number, like a few hours of work a day. So we followed all of those guidelines. We know that this is a new school year. This is the new normal. And so we have put in place more rigorous standards for teaching and learning. So our students will have a full academic day. Our teachers will be teaching during the full academic day. And so it's going to be different. And we also know that we need to tell the students this, so we will be holding grade level Zoom meetings with them. But there is no credit grading situation anymore. We're back to a typical school day where teachers have assignments, they have due dates. If students don't hand them in time, there's a penalty for late work. We're back to traditional school in a hybrid model or in a less traditional way. Important for you to know that the student body, we've talked a lot about cohort A and cohort B based on last name, but we realized at the high school, but we really have 3 cohorts because we have cohort C, which are all remote kids. And so as we put the schedule together, please know that every course will have a mix of students from cohort A, cohort B, and cohort C. So we've created a schedule that whether you're a hybrid student or a remote student, you would be in the same class. So you could have B period geometry with Mrs. Remy, and Mrs. Remy will know that she's teaching some students who are physically in front of her, some students who she'll see later that week, and some students who are remote all of the time. And so not the main purpose, but one of the biggest purposes of our 10 days is to get teachers ready to teach in that environment because that's brand new to every single one of us. And we need to make sure that our technology works and that we conceptually can figure out how to teach students who are not physically with us in the same room. Okay, so other information that is important for you to know. If you have a child who is on an IEP, before the first day of school, your student's liaison will be reaching out to you directly to talk about their learning and their individual needs. So that's already a protocol that we've put in place. The liaisons are going to go through their list and reach out to those families to answer specific questions for students on IEPs because we know there are lots of questions. So we're being proactive as a district with that, and we're reaching out to you before the first day of school. Some of you put on the form some really specific questions, so specific to you and your family and your child. I didn't put that in the presentation. So if you, after this presentation, still have that question, just email me directly and we'll talk one-on-one. And then another important decision that we made today is that we will not be having final exams at the high school. So because we're changing the master schedule to the semester model, so half your classes take place first semester, the other half take place second semester, and given the fact that we're returning after being remote for so long, we wanted to dedicate as much time to instruction. So we didn't want to take that time that we usually have in between semesters where kids are studying for a big exam and taking the exam, we thought that this was a priority. Also, the logistics of giving a high stakes exam with half of the students not in the building and some students who were remote learners, it didn't seem like the wisest use of our time. Joanne, any questions in the chat? I see lots going on there.
I'm answering, and Dr. Schaponi is answering what we can.
Awesome.
Just generally, AP courses will be discussed further on in the presentation. And I know busing, several questions on busing.
Okay.
When the busing information will be released, what's the pickup time, all of that. So I don't know if we don't have the busing information right now. I don't know when that's going to be released, if you
Okay.
know.
Yes, so I know that I have until tomorrow afternoon to get Mr. Mike Roche our who's in cohort A, who's in cohort B, and who's in cohort C. And he cannot do the bus routes for the high school until I get him that information. We were calling families today who were undecided and trying and seeing where they were landed in their decision. So I will ask him and I can put it back out there. So when I talk to him tomorrow, I'll let people know the best timeline we have for when that information will come out.
Two additional questions, one having to do with exams, the other having to do with if a parent decides that they want to change at this point right now, if they want to change to go fully remote from hybrid, who is the person they need to contact? I think it's you, correct?
Yep.
Directly.
Me. Yep, contact me directly. That would be great. We did turn off the survey because we had people answering multiple times, and then our data was just getting too fuzzy because we had the same family answering multiple times, and then it's hard to know which answer was the right answer. So yes, contact me directly, or you can even just call the main number, and the high school secretaries are adjusting the spreadsheet as we go. So whichever is easiest.
There's a couple of questions about the impact of having no final exams this year for all the grades. In terms of, I'm assuming how everybody's going to be graded. So no midterms, no finals, and each quarter will be
so each
divided by 4.
So each quarter will be 50%. So term one,
each semester will be 50%.
But the classes happen in a single semester.
Oh, that's right. Of course.
Yep, we did this.
Right, even we do.
Yep. So term one is 50% of the grade, then term two is 50% of the grade, and then the student has a final grade. Cool.
When are the kids going to be receiving their schedules? I think that's up, coming up, but I know that people are anxious to see what they have for courses. So I know we have a date.
Yep, it's later in the presentation.
Okay. And so I think there is a concern, is there a concern about there being 8 months between the end of, say, a math or foreign language class during the first semester and when the kids take the next math or foreign language class? So it's really semester one classes and their next one in the following year.
Yep. And that's something that every school who does a block schedule grapples with. So like I had said previously, we'll work with the area districts who have experience in the block schedule and see exactly what they do. We also talked in our coordinators meeting today about even though there are no final exams, what we can do are look at benchmark assessments so that when the students are leaving us, or not leaving us, but ending the course in January, having data on exactly what they've learned up to that point. So knowing where their learning is at, so that when we come back a year from now, we have that information and the next teacher knows what to expect. But yep, that's absolutely something that we have identified as something that we'll need to work through as a school, for sure.
A couple of questions are asking, basically, are there a good deal of people that are choosing to go remote versus hybrid? I'm not sure what our numbers are or, what we have. That's one of the questions. And there is a couple of questions about 8th graders and is there going to be any sort of orientation
Okay.
for a quick review of the school before they
Yep.
get there.
Okay, that's in the
All
presentation.
valid questions.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we pause here, then I'll go through the presentation and
Yep.
then answer most of everything you just said.
And I think just trying to make sure that everything that's been said, we get that.
Okay. Okay. All
Nope,
right.
a lot of the stuff is coming up. So if yours has not been answered, it's because it's coming up. And um, about courses and what exactly the hybrid is
Mhm.
and the format and expectations. So I know that there are a lot of questions. So um, wait, and if we haven't answered it, ask again if we
Again.
forget.
Yep.
All
And
right.
then perfect. All right, so here's a little example of what a block schedule might look like for a sample student. I presented this last week, but even since then, we've adjusted the times over here on the right a little bit by minutes, but that just kind of goes to show how we're adjusting things as we're trying them out. So let's see, so they would have like a previous caller, isn't the right word, but a previous person on this meeting has said they could have English first semester and then earn their English credit by January and then wouldn't have English class again until the following year. So yes, that is a reality in this schedule. Then they would, courses first semester will be A, B, C, and G, and then we'll end those courses. Students will earn credit for completion of the class, and then the next semester will begin, and we're going to run periods D, E, F, and G. Later in the presentation, we get into the rationale on the letters, so we'll do that. Classes are not rotating, and the reason for that is we know we need to be ready to pivot at any moment in case we end up going all remote. So we wanted to create a consistent schedule for everyone in the building. Also, we knew that we had some students that were remote and students that were hybrid and students that might potentially decide to become remote. So we wanted everybody to just like, this kiddo is going to wake up and know, like, I wake up and I go to English class. We didn't want to rotate. We just thought, let's in the year that's been the year we've had, let's try to keep this as simple as possible. So that was the rationale for that. All right, here's probably some of the information most of you are really wanting to know. So here's just a little example about what a 90-minute sample block might look like, how it might be structured, because we are going to live stream the classes. So that's the answer to how will my student who's a remote student be able to access the curriculum. So let's say that this is English class because I used to teach English. So it's 9th grade English. You start off the class with a live stream. You have all 24 of your kids logged in and listening. So I say, okay, the word of the day is whatever the word of the day is, do your do now activity, and I can make sure I can take my attendance. I can see that all my students, cohort A, B, and C, are in and engaged in class. They can be doing their work. Then I'll continue my lesson with a live stream and students can hear what I'm talking about. So it's 9th grade English. We're talking about Romeo and Juliet. They're listening to all of my wise words about Romeo and Juliet. I'm talking about the literary terms. We're talking about Shakespeare. And even if they're not physically in front of me, they're hearing what I'm saying and they're getting the lesson. Then we know that there could be some independent work. So at that point, I would say everybody work on this reflection about Romeo and Juliet, or work on these questions about Shakespeare's time in the Globe Theater, and that's when the live stream would turn off. So the student at home would be working independently, the students in the classroom would be working independently, and then at the end of the period, we'd turn the live stream back on and make sure that everybody knows what the homework is, wrap up the class, and just do a check-in. So that's just one example of how this could go. So please know that there could be lots of different ways that a teacher might do their live stream, but we do have the expectation that they are doing a live stream every period so that the students that are learning from home are able to access the same content on the same day. So that's our expectation to teachers. We talked about it today. That's part of their planning and their PD over these next few days, weeks, to make sure that they're ready to do this when students come in. Some students come in on the 15th and some are at home on the 15th. I've had lots of conversations with teachers who know that it would be okay for them to do a recording of a lecture and put that on Google Classroom, but have the live stream portion for an active discussion they're going to have. So the teachers will create the schedule for the students to see when the student should be logged in and click the link on the live stream, and when the student will be able to independent work. There are a lot of pieces, like moving pieces in this, and so it's going to be really important for our teachers to have organized Google Classrooms with clear agendas, so that every student every day, no matter if they're at their house or in the building, understands what a typical day and lesson looks like. And that would be for all students, cohort A, B, and C. All right, I feel like I missed a slide, but maybe I didn't. Sorry, I'm just going back. All right, I think that's that on this.
Mrs. Lafayette,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there was a question. I'm not sure if you addressed it. I'm doing my best to answer the chat questions. Recording of the live streams. Did you mention anything about that?
Yeah, we talked about that today in our faculty meeting. So I just need more time on that, on a final decision. But yep, that is something that's on the to-do list of what are the expectations around recording the live stream. So we've started those conversations, but I don't have a final answer on that.
And there were a couple of questions about while the live streaming is on, are questions able to be asked of students that would be remote? And I know that you did mention that. And when live streaming is turned off, is it completely off? Will there be opportunities for questions or issues during the independent time so kids, don't fall behind or will have their questions answered?
Yep, so we're working on all of that. So we need more time with our IT department, and we need our teachers to practice this before we know exactly how that will work. I don't want to sit here tonight and promise something until we practice it. So that, again, in our faculty meeting today, we brought up all of those great questions, but we are starting our trainings with the IT department tomorrow. So we'll know more after we really get in there with the technology and work through it. To see the best way to communicate with the students who are at home. So yep, those are all on our to-do list, and we're working through all of that the next 2 weeks. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Fort.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? You're
Yes.
good? Great. So we did get quite a few questions about what music and art will look like in this blended learning model. And so this is my attempt to answer as many questions in one place. But please feel free to email me if I have not answered your questions, or if you have any concerns. The teachers are in the building, and like Mrs. Lafayette, we are going through all questions and replying to families as quickly as we can. So we have a few goals that we wanted to keep in mind with the COVID and restrictions and blended learning model. So we're going to keep students engaged in making music, supporting their development as young musicians. We want to develop and offer rigorous curriculum in new settings, provide musical experiences that are flexible and adaptable for hybrid and remote settings. And the music staff would also like to continue to prepare and share musical performances with others creatively, and that might mean some virtual performances, but we want to keep that goal in mind this year. Next slide. Great. For those of you who are not aware, the Massachusetts Department of Education guidelines state that we are not to play wind instruments or sing indoors to start off the school year. So we need to pivot, and we need to come up with some different scenarios for learning. Playing instruments and singing is allowed outside to start off the school year with 10-foot spacing. And then instruments and activities that are not restricted to outdoors are percussion, drums, piano, keyboard, guitars, ukuleles, and those will be sanitized in between use, or they'll be assigned to individual students during the period of a course. So there were a couple questions that we also got about co-curricular activities. And our plan right now, and this could change and we're still waiting for some approvals, is that we're hoping to still have virtual jazz band online. We are hoping that we can hold color guard outdoors. Last year we had some great success with our private lesson program virtually. Marching band is really up in the air right now, but I wanted to remind families that it's now optional and it's not connected to the band course during the school day. So those are really to be determined. That's kind of what we're hoping will happen, and we'll keep you updated as we get more information ourselves. Great. Our 8th grade music class, beginning guitar, ukulele, and digital music production courses will continue almost as normal within the hybrid and blended settings, just with sanitization and social distancing. Our band and chorus classes, including our 8th grade band and 8th grade chorus classes, will be modified to meet the guidelines. And our plan is that students in those band and chorus classes will also have some options. We're going to have a prescribed part of the curriculum, and then part will be student choice. Next slide. Great. So here are some components that we anticipate would happen. We are going to be engaging all of our students in percussion ensemble as an ensemble experience. So drumming circles and world drumming and mallet ensembles and trash can drumming and other found percussion objects. So our band and chorus students can still get an ensemble experience, that collaboration piece, even though we can't play or sing our instruments inside. The first few weeks, we're going to try to do some playing and singing outside with 10-foot spacing. We're going to keep these to very short sessions of 30 minutes in small groups with the teacher. We're going to space things out, and this is not marching band. I don't want anybody to get confused. It's just using an outdoor space to teach music. We're going to be using the blended learning model to have our students play and sing at home. We are hoping that we're going to do some virtual band and choir performances this year. You may have seen some things on the interwebs, on things that look like Zoom performances. We could also do some virtual or live stream recitals. And one thing that all of our students are going to get is enforcement and development of their music literacy and music theory skills throughout the year. Here are some of the rotations that we're planning to include as options for our band and chorus students. And this is just our beginning list. We are going to be asking students for their feedback, and they're going to, again, as I mentioned, have some choice in what they participate in. So some of the options might include ukulele ensemble, chamber music outside, conducting skills, beginning piano or guitar for our chorus students, which is a wonderful skill for vocalists to have. And then we went ahead and pursued some other options for our music students for this year. We are going to be able to offer an optional course in music theory as college credit as part of the early enrollment program at Rhode Island College, and continuing to offer our American Popular Music course as an optional college credit course from Rhode Island College. Those are different from advanced placement classes in that they are 3 or 4 credit college courses that can be transferred to hundreds of colleges and universities in the United States. So we're excited to offer additional college concurrent enrollment opportunities for students at Bellingham High School. And I think there's just one more slide. Just so everyone is aware, the music staff is planning to, we will have professional development to create new percussion ensemble lessons for non-percussion students and some creative options. Larger classes like our high school concert band that are co-taught with myself and Mrs. Blakely, we're going to be using the auditorium to provide adequate social distancing and using entering and exit through multiple doors so that we have a very safe traffic flow. During rotations, when students have choice, we'll divide students into smaller groups and also use the other music rooms for spacing and social distancing. Just a couple heads up things. Students will need headphones for their Chromebooks when they're enrolled in music classes. So we'll ask them if they need assistance with that, if any family needs assistance. They do not need their musical instruments on the first day of school. Another note, if your student was not sure about being enrolled in band and chorus this year, but it shows on their schedule, we encourage them to stay because we will have a bunch of options for them. We'll be sending out some specific information via a newsletter and emails to all of our current music students once school begins. And I'll also be sending out specific information about the program that I mentioned through Rhode Island College, the early enrollment program. And I'm willing to host a question and answer session with interested families one evening, or depending on the format of Meet the Teacher Night, I'm happy to do that. So I think considering the restrictions, we've been very creative in trying to make this school year as rigorous and fun and engaging as possible, and offer some students some teamwork and collaboration opportunities, which are vital in our school culture and our music program culture. And I'll just say, you know, the teachers have been working really hard, and we're excited to have our students back in the building. So please reach out if you have any other questions, and we're really looking forward to seeing all of our kids. Oh, and these are just two other informational slides in case families are watching this as a recorded presentation. So we can skip over those.
Marie, there were also a couple of questions that you may have answered.
Sure.
So I apologize if I did not catch it. So if a student has band, it is a full year course?
Right now, Block G is scheduled for all year long. And again, we're going to be offering some options. So I would almost think about it as some mini courses within the larger course. So students will have opportunity if they wanted to do a college credit course or take ukulele, for example. But that's the way it's in the schedule right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep, that's right.
And we'll talk a little bit later about what a G block is, because I know that when you're talking G block, for you, it may be a full year, but almost all G block courses are divided: a full year G block course semester 1 and a full course G block semester 2. And we'll get to that. Don't panic, people.
Don't panic.
Let's see, there was another one. Can students use their own musical instruments from home if they have them during remote learning?
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to try to cut down on the amount that students would have to transport back and forth to school. I see another question. Will band students have access to band lockers, or will they be hauling instruments around the school day in person? That's a conversation I need to double check with Mrs. Lafayette. I think it comes down to how many students we're going to have during a particular day and what the flow would look like in our area. So we're working on it, and we will get back to you. But we anticipate that we would want them to have some instruments some days. So we'll let you know on that one.
Great, thank you.
There are a couple other questions. I don't know if you want to afterwards. There's band instrument covers.
Yes. So one parent asked, they have had some very prominent national studies about instrument covers that limit the aerosols that are released from instruments during play. Most of those studies have been looking at using those instrument covers in indoor settings, but they can also be used for outdoor settings. For starting off the school year, we're going to use 10-foot spacing, actually probably more than 10-foot spacing. So we don't need to use the aerosols because the spacing is quite large, but we can look into that if there's enough interest, and students can also bring in their own instrument covers if they wanted to. So we're going to, address that. And I saw there was a recent newspaper article. A local school has been doing some instrument covers. In other states, they're allowed to play indoors right now using those instrument covers. But Massachusetts, like I said, we're only outdoors, so we don't need to use the instrument covers right now. And then music program for virtual only students. We are working on that, and we are excited that we're going to be able to live stream. And for those of you who know Mrs. Blakely and me, that we're really tech savvy. So we're working very hard, and we did a lot of work over this summer. So rest assured, we are going to be helping our virtual students, our remote only students, that cohort C, a lot. And we're excited to engage you from home.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so at this point, I'm going to go through the questions submitted by parents, and hopefully that covers most of what's come up in the chat. And then with remaining time, we can go through the chat questions as well. So there will be time for that. All right, can you provide more information about the contact tracing app used for lunch? So it's not an app, it's not even as fancy as that. So we created a QR code, which can be scanned by cell phones, which will bring up a link on the student's phone, which will take them to a Google form. So when they sit down at their cafeteria desk, they scan their QR code and they start filling out the form. So what name, today's date, their name, what table they're sitting at, and which lunch they're attending. So remember, we'll have 4 different lunch waves. So they'll let us know if they're at first lunch, second lunch, third lunch, or fourth lunch. And that way, if we were to have any sort of incident where we needed to track a student's where they had been in the building, if they had COVID positive, we'd be able to say, okay, we know that they sat at table 26 during lunch, and at table 25 was this student, at table 24 was this student, and at table 27 was this student. So we would be able to know who that student had the closest contact with. So that's just part of what we need to do for contact tracing. I did look it up from our last meeting if Chromebooks can scan QR codes, and they can, but the answer that I read online was like they can if they have this certain thing on them. So I need to talk to our IT department and make sure that that's compatible if we have any students who don't have cell phones. So we'll work through that. Okay, I'm just going to keep going through the questions, and if there's follow-up, we'll put it in the chat. Will anyone with an IEP be physically going to school for 4 days a week? So right now, DESE guidelines are telling us that students who have significant complex special needs and receive 75% or more of their day in a sub-separate special ed program classroom attend 4 days. So that's how we're starting the school year off. As the year progresses, we're going to evaluate the progress of all students on IEPs, and we'll determine if some students would benefit from being engaged all 4 days a week. However, we need to proceed cautiously because we have to maintain 6 feet distancing in all of our classrooms and all of our school spaces. So we're really going to be very careful about bringing students in 4 days a week because we have to make sure that the building is safe. Okay, since the class blocks are 90 minutes, will the pace of instruction go much quicker, and will there be office hours for extra support? So the teachers are working over these 10 days to realign their curriculum to fit into this block schedule. And they are also doing some research on best practices and teaching in a block schedule. Also, luckily, we have a number of teachers in our building who have taught in a block schedule in the past, so they're familiar with it. So those teachers can really train our teachers who haven't had that experience. But it may mean that there are some cases that 2 topics or 2 related skills are taught in a single period. That could absolutely happen. Or if we're thinking about a novel, instead of doing 1 chapter a day, the students are studying 2 chapters a day. The nice part about a block schedule and a hybrid model is the fact that there may be only 12 students in a classroom. So the teacher will have time to check in with those 12 students, make sure the 12 students physically in front of them are doing what they need to do and that they're understanding. And because they know those 12 are all set, they can check on the kiddos that are learning from home. So that's all part of our expectations. What will a typical day for a remote learner look like? So those students who are learning from home, those remote learners, those cohort C students, and the students who happen to be home that day will attend all 4 periods, A, B, C, G. So they have to check their Google Classroom right at the start of that time. So if it's 7:30, they need to set their alarm, and at 7:30, they need to check in on A block because they either are clicking a live stream so they can get right in at 7:30, or they're doing a little assignment and then they have to click on that live stream at 7:45 or at 8:15, whenever the teacher's saying that click the live stream. And so they're working. And there will be times, like I had said previously, that they'll be working independently. But I really want to stress this. Cohorts A, B, and C will receive the same instruction and assignments each day, regardless of their location. So the teachers are working to make sure that the content that they get is the same. It's not, no, we're really working hard to make sure that that's our commitment to all of our learners. How will 504 plans or accommodations be honored during hybrid, and will the teachers know about the 504 plans, and should parents reach out to the teachers? So we're still using our student information database, SchoolBrains, which the rosters will be uploaded and the teachers will look at their rosters and they'll be able to see which students have either IEPs or 504s or medical plans. And the teachers can just click on a link right there in our student information system and read the full plans. So that is still our expectation, as it is every year, that they read those plans before the first day with students. If there are specific concerns, absolutely contact the school counselor, and we can help facilitate a conversation about some different or specific concerns that you have about your student and his or her learning. One of the questions that came in was about seniors and college planning. Here's the information I found out about that. So the counselors, as you may know, held a college information night for parents and juniors in March. So thankfully we got that in before we were shut down. They met with most juniors last spring prior to the school closing to discuss college planning. If you were not able to meet individually with your counselor, their student, your child, received an email with information including SATs, info for college-bound juniors, and a packet called the Summer To-Do List. So that was all sent to students in their school email. These documents included links for more information, including our school counseling website, which has a wealth of information. So if you have a student who is a senior this year, or really any of our students, the counselors have worked really hard updating that website so that it's really user-friendly, especially given the fact that they aren't having, and it didn't have in the spring, face-to-face meetings. So they put all their information right on that website. They also have a Google Classroom, and we're still using Naviance. So that's an important part of the college application process, and the counselors go over that with the students in their college planning years. And they are still planning on meeting with individual seniors to continue the college planning process. Those meetings will start late September. Okay, so this might be news for people, because I said it at the last meeting, but the September SATs were canceled at the high school. We needed to cancel it based on facility requests from College Board and all those logistics. But as of today, we are planning to offer it in October and November. So it could change depending on COVID-19 and safety issues. That's the world we live in now. But please, if you have a student who is planning on taking the SATs in September, please have them sign up for October, November, and we'll work to get them do what we can on our side. Can a student take an AP Science and a pre-AP Science class if they were recommended for that? So we weren't really sure on this one because all AP Science courses are taken independently. And so there really isn't a pre-AP Science course. We do have pre-AP Physics, and it's recommended prior to taking AP. We do, though, have some students who are recommended to double up on sciences. So I wonder if that's what this question was asking. And if some students were recommended to double up in sciences and it fit in their schedule, we were able to honor that request. All right, more AP stuff. All right. Can students take the AP exam after completing the class in the first semester, or do they have to wait until May? So they do have to wait until May. It's a national test. Everyone in the country takes the test on the same day. We're still waiting to hear. Some of you might remember in the spring, the tests were taken at home. They were shortened. We haven't heard much from College Board as to what the test will look like this year. We're waiting. For AP courses scheduled for the first semester, will there be a final exam? So we said there are no final exams. Will the second semester students be given work early so they can get a jump on the course as they're trying to put an entire year into 4 months? So this was a tough one for us. I'm going to be completely honest. We knew that in creating a block schedule, that it would shorten the length of time, maybe not the length of minutes, but the length of physical time, if that's a thing, physical time, that the AP teachers had. But we also knew that there were area schools that have done very well on AP exams in this exact same model. So we know it's possible. And we know AP courses have been taught in a block schedule. Students will have their summer work. So students who have their AP course starting in September have their summer work. And then if you are starting your AP course in January, that summer work won't be due until the first day of that semester. And that really is the jump start work. But the AP teachers are collaborating and are working, and they will communicate directly with the AP students if there's something else that needs to be done. But we know that it is possible for students to take an AP course in a block schedule and score very well. So that's that. All right, how will semester classes affect transcripts for seniors? And really it's transcripts for everybody, right? Applying to colleges. We do not foresee this as an issue in the college application process. Many high school schools utilize a semester or block schedule, so colleges are very familiar with that format. More schools are doing it this year, so that's true. I mean, I can't really, many of the schools right in our area are doing a block schedule. More schools are doing it this year. Semester courses will be worth 1 credit, and a full year's worth of courses appears on the seniors transcript that we send to colleges. So I think that was probably the biggest concern. So please know that when we send that transcript during the college application process, it will reflect everything that your student is signed up for the whole year. So everything's there. It's not just going to have 4 classes and then nothing. It will have all 8 classes. All right. More AP stuff. Here we go. Will the first semester AP kids be given an opportunity to review prior to the exam in May? So studying and reviewing for AP exams will be the responsibility of the student. However, teachers will be available to answer questions prior to the exam. I think if you have had any experience with our AP teachers, you know how dedicated they are to the students, to the course, and to helping them through that test. So they will be available. Also, please keep in mind that the College Board has increased their services to students and their tutorials and their instructions. So right on the AP website, your students who are signed up for AP classes have access to a wealth of information for that they can study, and just different instructional videos that are really helpful that didn't exist a year ago. So that will also help in this particular situation. How will they complete their, so I'm just summarizing this next question. How will they complete the classwork in 1 semester? That's what the teachers are working on right now. And the teachers have to provide a syllabus to College Board explaining exactly how they're going to do it in order for College Board to give their approval. And we know it can be done, and our teachers are adjusting their syllabi as we speak. All right, please explain Block G, does it go all year? This is a good explanation because I know it's really kind of weird to take our traditional schedule and put it into a block schedule. So we'll go through that one. So because we've shifted to the block schedule, there'll be 4 courses each semester, a total of 8. Because our old schedule was based on 7 blocks, we needed a name for the 8th block. So we just have G block semester 1, G block semester 2. Both G blocks are the last block of the day each semester, and in almost all cases, like 99.9, G block is a totally different course. The only exception is band, which is running year long, but as Ms. Fort talked about, it really will be more than 1 course. It won't be the same content all year long. It's because we needed to come up with a title for that 8th period. And if you know anything about doing scheduling, if you change, typically in a normal year, if you changed a schedule for a high school, we would have started last January, and it would have taken us from January to September to do this. We started this in July. So we had from July to now to make this happen. So we needed to be creative and sort of take 2 different things and make them work and create a new thing, if that makes sense. Will extracurriculars and clubs be run on site at all? So yes, we hope to have extracurriculars, but we need to see what the first month of school looks like first. So we're taking it one step at a time. So from the very first day of school until October 15th, there will be no extracurriculars and no late buses. So our goal is to get students in the building, be safe, teach those students, end the school day, get everybody out of the building, and then start sanitizing so that we can all safely return the next day. So there will be no extracurricular clubs or activities until October 15th. If your child is involved in fall athletics, that's a whole different presentation that we brought to school committee, and we can touch on a little bit here, but if you have specific questions about athletics, you can talk to Michael Connor. All right, will band only be held for one semester? So we talked about that at length, so I'm going to skip down to the next one. Will parents of seniors have an opportunity to see their kids in soccer, for example, or other sports since it's their last year? So athletics is tough. I think, like I just said, we're working really hard to get students in the building, keep them safe, focus on academics. We're really excited as a Tri-Valley League to have athletics, but we need to be very careful. So the Tri-Valley League met last week, the principals and the athletic directors. We have fantastic athletic directors who have already gone through all the recommendations by EEA, DESE, and the MIAA. But we did vote that for fall one, there will be no spectators at all. It's a safety issue. It's a size of a crowd issue. So there won't be spectators in fall one, and that's across the entire league. It impacts the entire Tri-Valley League. We are working, however, on live streaming. So we're currently talking to a company who could provide us with video footage of the contests, and we have the potential to stream them across the country, actually. So we're hoping to do that, and then we'll communicate more with families of athletes about those things. But I'm going to go back to my first point. Every decision we made had to do with safety. So we have to do what's most safe for everyone involved.
There were, Mrs. Lafayette, I know that there were several questions regarding that. I know that there are others in the chat. I've written them down. If we don't go over them, we'll go over them at the end.
Okay.
A couple of things. So no senior night. That was a question.
Let me, do you want to jump in on that, Mr. Connor, or do you want to wait until later and have it? What do you want to do? Not to put you on the spot.
Relative to spectators? Sorry.
Yeah, or senior, what would
Can they sit in their cars and watch a soccer game?
Mm-hmm.
Not even one parent allowed for fall sporting events. So there are a lot of just follow-ups to the no spectator decision.
Okay. All right.
So there are several of them in here. So.
Yeah, the genesis of that is that we're not allowed to have more than 50 people on the field, and we're not allowed to have more than 50 people encircling the field. And since we can't control the area beyond the turf field or the circle, the league voted you could stay outside the fence, you can watch from your cars, and do any of that, but the best option we had was to live stream the events, and as Principal Lafayette said, it's a league-wide situation.
Yep. All right, good. That's good to know about the cars, though, so thank you for that. So if they were to sit in their car, that would be okay, but so the two options for spectators are sit in the car or live stream.
Correct.
And I think at the end of the day, when we think about this too, we wanted to have an opportunity for the students to play. So if the give and take is that we can't have spectators, but the students can play, then that's a step in the right direction. All right, so we can save the chat too, so we'll do that, and we can answer those questions later as well. Okay, so since students are not allowed to use their phones in school, which was part of my presentation to school committee last week, what if they need to contact their parent? So please know that students can check their phones in between periods. So if they know that if they check their phone and they see 17 missed calls from mom or text messages, all they need to do is ask their teacher permission to go down to the office to make a phone call. And it's not, I think this was misconstrued and it was probably my fault. It's not to go to the office to use the office phone. It's just to have a private place to make a phone call. So they can still use their cell phone to make a phone call, but they just can't do it in a bathroom, in a hallway, in their classroom. They need to come to the office, make their phone call, and then go back to class. So they can still check their phone throughout the day. All right. Will we be getting a list of school supplies? So yes, I will work on a list of school supplies with the department coordinators. The high school is tough though, because some teachers have specific things that they want. So I always have recommended that students go to school the first day of school, listen to what their teacher says they need, and then go buy the things. I know that with supply being an issue this year, maybe we can't have that practice. So I'll work with my coordinators this week and try to get something out to you by the end of this week, because I'm a parent as well who needs to go back to school shopping. So I do understand that.
Mrs. Lafayette, there was a couple of questions about, especially in the younger grades, 8th grade, about having binders. I know that we're moving towards really being paperless in the classrooms.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if there are still some teachers that are going to require this. It's a point now where they're not going to be distributing as many papers, so the organization will be more electronically versus tangible papers. But if a student feels the need that they need to have that organization, they can certainly pick up a small binder for whatever it is they're going to have. But we're committed to really moving towards a paperless course or classroom. And if a teacher needs to give them something, they will.
Yeah. Yep. I was thinking the same thing. Also keep in mind, because we're not using lockers, it wouldn't make sense for a student to have 4 big binders, 4 big notebooks, 4 big textbooks, and have to carry it with him or her throughout the building. So we really are hoping that students could probably have a Chromebook, 1 notebook maybe,
Right.
and then a binder if they so choose, and a couple textbooks. But
definitely hold off until the kids have gone into their classes.
Yeah. All right. So some of those things you can just read. Well, we're still here. We'll still keep going. How will classes that are typically a semester class be held? So yes, so we do have classes that would usually be a semester class. They are staying a semester class, but in a block schedule. So the teachers are working to expand the course offerings. So they're working over these next 2 weeks to make sure that their, for example, sociology class has enough content to go for the entire semester in a block schedule. How will study halls be scheduled? We have study halls just like we always have for juniors and seniors. So if in the course selection process a junior or senior requested a study hall and it fit in their schedule, we were able to honor that. And as I had said in our last meeting, students can, with their parents' permission, juniors and seniors can come to school after first period if their study hall is first period, and they can leave the building if their study is last period. If their study is in the middle there, they'll need to stay. So that's how study halls are working right now. All right. Are kids allowed to do remote learning together on Wednesday if they're in the same class? I wasn't too sure what this question meant. So when you use the word allowed, so for me, it's a family decision. So if you are, I wasn't sure if this was like, we're doing an educational pod, so can our families be together, or if it was more about collaboration on assignments. So I don't have a clear answer on this one, but it's a family decision. So if you're doing that educational pod thing where you have a family that are going to work together and help each other out through all of this, and those students are working together on a Wednesday, that would probably be fine if you as parents are okay with that. I just would say be careful about students working on their assignments together, because we all know that teachers sometimes want students to work independently so that they can see exactly what that student knows. So make sure that you talk with your child about what was the expectation from the teacher. Is this something that you can collaborate with someone on, or is this like an essay and it's supposed to be all your own ideas and you shouldn't be sharing quotes? So that was my answer for that one. On remote days, this is the attendance piece that came up in the chat. So if that was your question, here's the answer. On remote days, what if my child can't attend a live session? Will they get credit later? Will they be marked absent? So we're not 100% sure yet. We're still waiting on DESE guidelines for attendance. We know that they want us to take attendance. We have attendance codes that we have to put in for every student. So we've always had to do that. They've always tracked student attendance, and they want to track it for remote learning also. So we are still waiting for a little piece of DESE guidance, and then we're going to come together as a school and figure out what our philosophy is on student attendance given the world that we're living in today. So once that is firmed up, we will publish it to everyone so that you know. Remote learning format for physical education. So we have a department meeting with our phys ed team this week, so we're going to hammer out all those details, but tentatively we were thinking the health curriculum is something that would be very easily done through Google Classroom and remote and live streaming, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then we'll work together to figure out what the PE piece of that will be. So in the spring, we did the activity tracker that students filled out, but do we need to, and it's a rhetorical question, have a more rigorous physical education program for remote learners? So that's to be determined, and we will let you know as soon as we have an answer for that one. All right, we're getting close to the end, so we will have time. We'll have time for questions. All right, bus tuition. So any and all bus questions, please send them to Michael Roche, and I put his email address there. So he is doing all the transportation stuff, and he has all of those answers. If my student has his own laptop, do I need a Chromebook? So please, I know that in one of our emails that we sent to parents, this information was in there, but like whoever asked this question, I can't remember off the top of my head what the answer was. So please email Mrs. Conroy. I put her information there, and she can answer. I know that there was conversation today that I was listening to about we have to install some software so that our software works on your home laptop, and it's $25. I don't know all the details on that one, so please talk to Mrs. Conroy about that. She'll have the answers more clearly for you. This is an important question. If at any time I feel like it's getting unsafe, can I change to remote? Absolutely, 100%. So I understand. I mean, many of us are parents, and we have loved ones attending school in a couple of weeks, and we're all nervous. So yes, if you feel like it's getting unsafe, you can switch to remote, and then we'll do that. If you pick remote, we cannot bring you back into the building and make you hybrid until at least, I'm really emphasizing, at least term 1. We need to see how this goes before we start bringing kids back. So it's very easy to go from hybrid to remote, but when we're adding bodies to the building, that's going to be more difficult. And we will reevaluate that at the end of the term and let people know if it's possible to bring people back. When will schedules be available? September 5th. We should be able to put them up on the School Brains portal. We're just working through all the little details that we're always working through. So September 5th is the date for that. Will there be, I think I have 3 more slides for everybody hanging in there. Will there be tutors available to work with struggling students? Great question. So in the past, many of you might know, we've had the National Honor Society students. They used to work in the library. It was a drop-in center. I haven't talked to the teacher who ran that program yet, but I will this week to see if we can do online tutoring in a virtual way, maybe on those Wednesdays. So work in progress on the to-do list. How will students pass from class to class, all at once or staggered? We're going to start the year staggered. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to monitor the hallways. We're going to see if it's crowded or congested, and then we'll go from there. But our intention is to start with a staggered dismissal from period to period. All right, what will students be doing with their masks during mask breaks and lunch? So this just came up today with the school nurses looking into lanyards that the kiddos can hang their masks on. So more details to follow on that. How is the bathroom going to work? So students will be using disposable paper passes. So if they need to use the bathroom, they'll a one-time only paper pass. to access the student bathrooms. We will continue to have teachers outside in the hallway who act as bathroom monitors, and only 3 students are allowed in the bathroom at a time, and only 1 student at the sink at a time. So we've put up signs, we have markings for social distancing, and the bathrooms are being sanitized by our custodial staff throughout the day. So we're working on all of that. That one, yeah, so we basically have worked through all of that. Will there be programs to get the 8th graders familiar with the school? Yes, so this is one of those things that we've been talking about all summer. We just have to put our ideas to paper. So the assistant principals and I will meet probably tomorrow to figure this out and get communication out to families ASAP. It would be a quick tour. So we would be asking parents to come to the school in an organized fashion. We'll send out all of that. And this, we can take the students on a quick tour. You would stay as a parent in your car in the parking lot. And after the quick tour, we'd send them out the another door to you for pickup. So in the past, it's been hours long. We just can't do that. So, but I do think it's vitally important that they get to see where their first period class is, and you know, when everyone says tower stairs, what are we talking about? So yes, we are. That's always been in my mind, and we're gonna put pen to paper on that and get that out to you as soon as possible. Ah, there we go.
I have several questions.
Okay.
I waited.
Have 'em.
I waited. All right. So I know that you had mentioned mask breaks and bathrooms. So a couple of the questions had to do with the lunchroom. How is the lunchroom going to be structured with regards to who eats when, and the sanitizing of the lunchroom, having 4 waves now. So do you want to do that first, and I'll just go through?
Yep. So we have around 80 chairs in our cafeteria, and we're going to put approximately 30 chairs outside. And so we anticipate that we can have all students in the cafeteria or outside on good weather days for each wave of lunch. Right now, our lunch waves are 8th graders have one particular lunch, so we can keep the 8th graders together. And then because our typical high school schedule is that students are in or intermixed grade level classes, then we do lunches by content area. So I don't have memorized off my top of my head, but for example, English and math could eat second lunch, and then maybe it's science and study halls have third lunch. So we have an organized structure. We just need to go through our class lists and make sure, and just check our numbers to make sure that we have enough seats for the students. By having, let's say we have about 300 students in the building each day, over 4 lunches, we'll be okay. We can spread everybody out appropriately. So that's that one. And we have 4 minutes between each lunch, and we're going to make sure, we've already worked with our custodial crew on how to make sure that we're sanitizing every seat before the next lunch wave comes in. So we're working out those logistics as well. So we've had multiple conversations with the custodial staff about that. We've practiced actually to see how long we needed. So we've worked through all of that to make sure that the seats are sanitized. The seats and tabletops are sanitized before the next group of students comes to lunch.
Did you mention that there is outdoor seating? One of the questions is, if a student doesn't want to eat lunch, is there a different place they can go?
Yep, so the different place is outdoor seating. So I know in the past there have been various locations throughout the building that students have gone to eat their lunch. We cannot do that this year. They have to choose between the cafeteria or the outdoor seating because it involves not having a mask on. So now it's a greater safety concern.
This was a question regarding attendance. This came up a couple of times. Will students that are homesick on their in-person day be able to log into the live stream for the day and not be marked absent for the day? So
yeah, I don't think we can do both of those things. I would say if your child is sick, have them, call them into the absentee line like always, so they'll be sick. It'll be an absence day. However, the nice part is if they want to, they can stream in and listen and still stay current. So that's my immediate thought to that question. But let's write that one down in case upon reflection there's a different answer. But that's my, I don't see how that seems like it would be a clerical nightmare to try to figure out that a kid who was out sick actually attended class somehow, even though it was their in-person day. I don't see that working out logistically.
And I think a follow-up question to that is, what if they're asked to stay home for screening? That's a different situation,
Yes,
correct?
Yep, that's a different situation, and I'll have to talk to our school nurses to figure out exactly what that would be for attendance coding purposes, because that, I think the state has created a separate attendance code for those instances.
Can you just briefly talk about the absentee policy in general and how it may change from pre-COVID to currently with regard to notes or, all of that?
Let me wait on that one just because I want to make sure I have as much accurate information to everybody at one time. So why don't I put up I'll create some sort of like one pager about attendance that I'll get out to everybody.
And I know that there's the question about snow days. I don't think we know that yet in terms of, will the snow day be remote or will it be counted and tacked on to the end of the year? We don't know that yet.
Yep, we need to wait for the state to tell us what to do on that one.
Okay, a couple more questions. The mask breaks, did you mention that there are scheduled mask breaks throughout the day?
No, I didn't.
What they will look like?
Yep, I had in a previous presentation, so I apologize for not mentioning it in this one. So we have scheduled a tentative schedule for mask breaks. At the high school, our priority is to have mask breaks taken outside. So if it were torrentially raining and we had to have a mask break inside, we have a couple locations like the gym that we could use for that. But even if it were raining a little bit, I would still want the students to take their mask break outside. And I would think that we have a couple overhangs that one class at a time could do that and still be spread out. It is really important to me as the building administrator that mask breaks are taken outside. So students will have 3 mask breaks total, with lunch counting as one of the mask breaks. So they'll have 3 times during the day that they can take a mask break. We are also saying to you and to your children that we're not eating in the classroom, because if you eat in the classroom, you have to take your mask off. But if you want to have a snack, you can have a snack during the mask break. So you take your snack outside with your teacher, and you take your mask off, and you're really far apart, and you eat your snack, and you have your mask break. And we'll have that during the school day in the high school.
There were 2 questions. There were a couple of questions about how cleaning in between classes is going to be held.
Yep.
What the sanitizing protocol is going to be.
Absolutely. Yep. So we talked with our teachers last week when they first got back. So we have the ozonated water, which is a sterilizing agent. Every teacher will have a bottle of the sterilizing agent, and they will sterilize their classroom in between each period. So during the passing time, they'll be able to sterilize each desk and doorknobs if needed. And then some of our classrooms have sinks, so they would be sanitizing the sinks. Our custodians will be sanitizing high-touch surfaces throughout the building and in the hallways throughout the school day as well. So classroom teachers will be responsible for their classroom space, and custodians will be taking care of the general building.
Okay. This one was about technology. For any student that's home remote and they have a technology fail, Wi-Fi problem, the Chromebook freezes, do we have a protocol for getting help with that so that the student can rectify the situation and move along for the day?
Right. We don't have a protocol yet, but let me talk with the IT department and see if there's what to do, because that's a great question. Yeah.
All right. I'm coming to the end of my list, but they're coming in fast and furious, so hold on. All right. Add drop period. I know that that's going to look a little bit different this year. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, add drop. I'm stopped sharing my screen and I can look at all your beautiful faces. Add drop's going to be really difficult this year. I don't know that it will be possible to have add drop this year. So we can fix schedule mistakes. So we can fix a schedule if the student has taken the course before, or if there is a blank in the schedule, but we can't do add drop. I'm sorry. So there will be students in electives that they did not want, and they will have to stick it out. The schedule is too tight, and we are starting on September 15th, and we've redone the schedule 5 times since June. So there will not be add drop this year.
There was a health and wellness question. Since a semester now is 1 credit, would this fulfill, let's say, a junior and senior year's credit, or will they have to take another course in post-COVID?
Yep, we haven't talked about that yet, but we will get that to families. Yep, that's an important question too.
All right, and I know the answer, but if you want to talk about the reevaluation of the hybrid model versus something that, how that will change, and whether it be face-to-face or remote or anything like that. I think it's just, I don't think there's a reevaluation date per se, but.
So as a school, do you think they're asking? Like, as a school, might we decide?
I think it's more of it sounded like a district question. It was early on. Do we have a reevaluation date for the hybrid model?
Right. No, we don't. We're in the hybrid model, and we will, pay attention to how things are going in the state as cases either increase in the state or decrease in the state, to see what we can do. So that's sort of what Superintendent Morano has said in the past.
All right. What is happening with the gym waiver?
Oh, good question. So we started last year with the gym waiver. That's a savvy parent who knows that one. Good. And it was public and everything. It just kind of, I didn't think anyone would remember that. So if you have a student who is participating in athletics, they have organized athletics through the school. They have the ability to waive out of PE 1 time in their junior or senior year. If your student is interested in that, they should email the department coordinator, Jessica Lorenz, J. Lorenz at Bellingham Public Schools, and let her know that, because we have a pile of them that we were planning on going through as we were finishing up our scheduling this week. The tricky part is, though, is if for some reason athletics are canceled, then that waiver doesn't exist, because you can't waive out of PE if athletics are canceled. So is the gym waiver retroactive? I don't know what that means. Retroactive. This is the first year we're ever doing it. No. So you can't use it to take, no, thank you. You can't use it to fulfill a requirement of a past year. No, it has to be in this current year. That's the way the language is written. Okay, I figured that one out.
Do you want to talk about what is the start of school each day? I know it's 7:30. The question is, if drivers are not allowed to arrive until 7:30 and the first block starts at 7:30?
Yep. So teachers, we talked about this with the teaching staff. We know that students have to come into the building, they have to wash their hands, and then they have to wash/sanitize their hands, and then they have to go to first period. So we need that staggered start so that everyone can get to a sink, get to a sanitizing station while being socially distant. So that will take a little bit of time. Then with the students who are coming a little bit later, they might walk in and the do now activity will be on the board. So they'll walk in and there'll be an activity that some students are already starting, but the teachers know that they'll wait till all 12 of their students are in class before they start, with the instruction that's vital to hear. So there will be some work to do, but it won't be vital instruction that a student is going to miss because they happen to be a driver. We talked with our teachers about that. Yep.
How will we know if there is a positive exposure? Will a contact tracing team call the family?
Yes, there are protocols. So DESE has all of the protocols for what exactly we need to do when there is a COVID positive case. I know that we've posted it a number of times in the chat. and it went out in the letter, I believe. One of the letters we sent to you had a link, but yes, there are specific protocols that we have to follow if there is a COVID positive case. And part of that involves informing people who were within close contact of that person.
If a student takes a gym waiver but already has a study, will they be allowed to have 2 studies?
No, great question. It's right there in the language. You cannot have 2 studies. Great question.
Mhm. Are temperatures being taken when they arrive?
No, so we worked with our nurses. The nurses will be communicating with parents. I almost feel like something went out today, but we are asking parents to check temperatures of students at home, and make sure that students are coming to us fever free. But be on the lookout for communication specifically from the district about that.
The question was, how will this recording be shared out? Where, when,
Yep.
how?
I will work with Mr. Garofano. It saves to my desktop, so I'll ask him how to get it onto our website. I think that's probably the best place to put it. Great question.
Just a shameless plug, since I'm the AP coordinator. AP exams, they want me to order them in the end of October, so payment for them is going to be by the 3rd week in October. They went up $1. So if you feel that you qualify for a fee waiver, please make sure you get your documentation in. If you need any information, please email me directly and I will forward you what you need for that. End of my PSA for AP. My kids do not bring their phones to school. Will they need them?
No, I love that your kids don't bring their phones to school. No, we'll figure out the cafeteria seating without them having to bring a phone to school. Okay, I saw a thing about student parking passes. We
Parking,
are not
yep.
charging for parking this year. Students can park. Life is good. Free parking for students. And dues, can they be paid electronically? Have we done that in the past, Mrs.
We
Mass?
have not. There's been some trickiness of doing so. That's why it's always been either by cash or check. So as of now, it has not been electronic, but I can call Joanne to see what the situation is. Let's see. The AP fee for both semesters, correct? Yes. So if you're taking one second semester, I need to order them. I don't need to order them as fast, but yes, the deadline for the payments are in the fall for anybody taking an exam. Is lunch going to be served in school or kids have to bring their lunch from home?
We are still serving
nope.
lunch. Yep.
We're still serving lunch.
Okay. All right.
All right. I think
So
I've gotten everybody. If I haven't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? Time-wise, we're doing great. So we're ending right at 7:30, which is as advertised. So why don't you, if you have any last-minute questions, put them in the chat. And before I leave the meeting, I'll cut and paste from the chat into another document, and I'll make sure that we get them all covered. And we'll go from there. Please don't all put in 100 questions, though, right now. All right, thank you so much for all of your time and all of your patience and all of your wonderful questions. I hope that this was helpful. We've been working really hard over the summer. We want to provide a safe environment for your kiddos to come into because we miss them, and we can't wait to see them again and to help them feel successful academically, social, emotionally, and in our building or from home. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll be in touch with more communication soon. Bye, guys. Thank you. I'm just grabbing the last questions from the chat.